As we're about to start talking about Psukei de Zimra, the problem is here. No, I think the problem is here. Is it working at all? Yeah, it is. As we start talking about Psukei de Zimra, I think it's important to mention there's a difference between Nusach Ari and Nusach Sfard versus Nusach Ashkenaz in terms of the placement of Hodu. The first part of Hodu appears twice in Tanakh. Once in Divrei Hayamim and once in Tehillim. As part of Tehillim, it's praising. It's praising HaShem, which is very much what Psukei de Zimra is all about. In Divrei Hayamim, it was what David HaMelech said with regard to the Beis HaMikdash. And that belongs with the service in the Beis HaMikdash, or the Karbonis. In Nusach Sfard, Hodu is really not Psukei de Zimra at all. It is the culmination of the Karbonis. A similar thing with Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habayis, which, by the way, we don't find in the early Sidurim at all. The original Ashkenazi Siddur, the German one, Heidenheim, does not have it. In Nusach Sfard, not Ari, it does appear, but also right after Hodu. Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habayis was a mizmor that David wrote also to be said for the Chanukas Habayis, which was for the Beis HaMikdash upon its building. In Nusach Sfard, that is the culmination of the Korbanis. So it is said before Baruch Shamra, which is the bracha that is said before Psukei de Zimra. The interesting thing is that in Ashkenaz, it is said just before Baruch Sha'amar. There are those who claim that whenever the custom added it into the Ashkenazi Nusach, although Hodu was left after Baruch Sha'amar, Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habayis, which is obviously connected to the Beis HaMikdash, was left as the culmination to Karbanis. So I want to say a word about Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habayis, which is a very puzzling song for Chanukas Habayis. This is upon the building of the Beis HaMikdash. What do you think one would say? There's something about the Shechina, something about the fact that this is the place to serve HaShem. You know what it's all about? King David is thanking HaShem for saving his life. What on earth does that have to do with the Beis HaMikdash? What does that have to do with the Beis HaMikdash? There's a mimer in the Torah Savram from Avram Gajinsky where he writes, David HaMelech, in his celebration of the building of the Beis HaMikdash, is explaining to us how it was that it came about and how it is that we have to bring about anything great in the world of spirituality. And he says you've got to go and view it as a war. There's so much against you. There are so many forces that are going to try to stop you. It's got to be that you're obsessed with it. It's got to be that everything that gets in your way, you're determined to put up with. Fight and make it happen. There is no other way that anything spiritual comes about. This is true in your own goals, in learning, in changing your midos, in trying to build anything for the Jewish people. You can observe this all over the place. Nothing happens if you don't view it as a battle, if you're not ready to fight till the end. It's a war. You want to accomplish something in learning, you can be sure there will be so many things that get in your way. There will be so many obstacles, so many situations that will come up. You got to view it as a war. You're ready to fight. It's got to happen. You build something for Klal Yisrael. They always say one of the ways you know what you're doing is right is if everything goes wrong. They're fighting, and you've got to fight to make it happen. The Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habayis is thanking HaShem from saving him, saving his life from all of his enemies. He views the ability to bring about, and he built the foundations of the Beis HaMikdash, wrote the plans for the Beis HaMikdash. He saw that as a victory and a life-saving victory. He saw his life being saved. He survived everything that stood in his way. This is a very important way to start davening, because when you want to really speak to HaShem, there are a million things that will pop into your mind. The only way you will end up speaking to HaShem is if you fight for it and recognize that your life is dependent on it. So you start your davening and you go to war. And Mir Hashem, you're successful, you win, and you talk to HaShem and not just daydream.